Jasvir Kaur. It's my pleasure to be here holding this space for you every week. This is your space to ask the questions, those things that you might find difficult to talk about in other spaces, or you've been too hesitant or afraid to ask other people. This is the space that we want you to ask those questions. Send us your questions, your concerns to info@yogiofsound.com, and let this be a space to address those conversations and those topics and have real talk. Please join me in welcoming our wonderful guest, Yogi of Sound, Professor Surinder Singh.
Satkartar.
Satkartar Yogi ji. Thank you for joining us on Real Talk.
Thank you. Thank you.
We've been having some wonderful feedback from all of our viewers in the email, and everybody's appreciating the conversations. There's new connections being made, and lots more questions coming in as well. So I hope that you're ready to answer a ton of questions for us.
I would love to share whatever little experience I have. I don't think I'm an authority, but so I'm just here to share whatever my little experience is.
We appreciate that very much. And what we're going to begin with is one of the questions that's coming from our viewers is, can Sikhi be inherited? So if my parents are sick, then does that automatically make me sick?
And it helps, it helps to see the practices, and Sangat always leaves an impact. Even it is a Sangat with the parents, we see their lifestyle. See, mother is a role model, father is a role model. We see them every single day, and how they live, their viewpoint, what they do, it does leave an impact on us. But again, when it comes to Sikhi, I personally believe Sikhi is not a property of a household that we can inherit. Yes, we do get influenced. What is the lifestyle? A systematic, or how people are. Our parents, their beliefs are different, although they may be going to gurdwaras every single morning. They get up, do the part, and but also they, the mother keeps karwa chauth work, or the rakhdi process. All of these things are happening. So we carry those things forward, and in this carrying forward, we carry a culture. Being in a Sikh family, the Sikhi is a different thing. A Sikhi is a deep process of learning, and for that we need question, not to be born in a Sikh family. We need to have the quest, that I need to know. I want to be better. I want to grow. So therefore, I must be in company or in sangat of my guru, and that makes us learn. So, but you have seen so many doctors. Their children become doctors. It is a sangat, but when they can't inherit the doctorate, engineer's son or daughter cannot inherit. They still have to study to become what their parents are. So same thing for us. If we're born, brought up in a Sikh family, for us to become Sikh, we have to still earn it, learn it.
So how do we bring that awareness in? Because there's the whole of our global community, most of us become sick because our parents, or we call ourselves sick because our parents practice a connection with Sikhi, right? They go to the Gurdwara or they speak Punjabi. And then, I guess my question is twofold, because that's one part of it. And then the other part of it that is coming from me right now is that using the titles Singh and Kaur, back when Guru Gobind Singh Ji gave Amrit Sanjar to the Panj Pyare, right? That was when these names were given. But were they given generally to everybody and anybody, or were they only associated with those that had taken Amrit?
See, when you will come out of the folds of Sikhism, you will see the history from the from a Gursikh angle, from between you and Guru. The process, when you will see and evaluate history from that angle, Jasvir Kaur, you will understand that the titles are not for anybody. Now, you are MBE. That doesn't mean that MBE should be given to the old people, the Jasvir Kaur, or the household is MBE. It is not automatically given. You earned that title. Singh and Kaur was a title, a process, a person who went through Sikhi, who learned the art of love and communication with the Guru, who displayed that they have the oneness in their consciousness. They were then ranked. They were brought to a status. Singh and Kaur. Keep in mind the Singh, this second name always existed prior to that. The Rajputs used this name. The other clans, tribes used to Singh behind their names also. But Guru Sahib used as a rank to those um, who thrived toward becoming that purity, becoming who took that stage of leadership, who were there to guide, who took the responsibility for for humanity. So Kaurs and Sikhs is not, again, it's like Sikhi. You cannot inherit. It looks nice and it's okay. We can call whatever we want to. Um, I know my friends who changed their last name many times. Uh, Yourself also, you are using as your legal name on your passport license, Jasvir called Rababan, and um, you're entitled to. That's how you remind yourself that you have to serve Guru Nanak's mission with the Rabab on the road of Gurmat Sangeet. And Singh and Kaur is the same thing. There's a two ways. One is when Guru endorsed that. Um, You can call Captain Jasvir Kaur Rababan if you want to. You can use Brigadier, but that doesn't make you anything in the military or in armed forces. Within the Sikhs too, the Singh and Kaur coming in from Guru Gobind Singh Maharaj, that is a title given. That is a very special endorsement. That is where your status changes from something to something very beautiful. But we take things grantedly and we inherit this name. So they become family names rather than the name given by the Guru.
So, what did it take to earn these names? What value did they have before when they were introduced into this space of Sikhi?
They took the head. When Guru said, "My beloved Sikhs, the people who seek on the marg, on the path of Guru Nanak's ideology, who came here to learn from Guru Nanak the art of love. Today I require your head." Those who were still existing, who had conflict between the connection, they remained, still stayed there and didn't get up. But the five did on the five calls. And this is how Guru have shown it to us that we, in love, we give everything. Everything. Head shouldn't be a question. And it was a challenge of existence. It was challenge to a seeker, a challenge of ego and existence. And few, only five passed, and they were called things. That was the endorsement. That's where status from Chand or Das or other names changed, and they were the leaders of of what I call the jungle of life. They were the kings,
Mhm.
and that's
So,
how Guru endorsed it.
so when was the name Kaur given? Because the Panj Pyare were all Singh. None of them were Kaur. So when and how did that begin?
It's the same process when those Singhs, those leaders, those five super selected commanders, they had their battalions coming forward, and of course, you need to understand Guru's martial side. How the ranks and how the training is happening, how the leadership is flowing, and amongst uh, those people who came very close to Guru's circle, who passed a test after test, and Guru thought they were responsible people, this is where Guru gave the title of Kaur, and this is where Guru gave the title of Singh. Services, if you were in the battalion of Bhai Daya Singh Ji, or Bhai Sahib Singh Ji, or Mohkam Singh Ji, Bhai Himmat Singh Ji, or Bhai Dharm Singh Ji. It depends which battalion you were in, uh, and your duties were then assigned to you in that way. But one thing was common in the Khalsa army, in the Khalsa Fauj, in this Khalsa process. The whole identity, whole existence of one was changed with changing their inherited name from Das, or whatever your name was, Rani, or Basant, or anything. Then Satguru endorsed the core behind it, that you are my daughter, you are princess, live life with responsibility.
So what's your opinion on how these names are used now? Because in this day and age, most people don't connect with the responsibility or the history of what these names represent, and they've just become cultural labels that Punjabi now means Sikh.
Um, India's cricket team, and the captain was Mahinder Singh Dhoni. Just giving an example. He's got nothing to do with the Sikhi. He carries the name Singh, inherited, as I said, Rajputs usually had their surname Singh. Um, when it comes to the spiritual realm, when your guru is Sri Guru Gobind Singh Ji, and you earned this title, of course things going to change. But Jasvir Kaurji, we also must understand, if there is a day, there will be a night. There will be people who don't really understand and who don't really care. They believe that they're born in a family who believes in Sri Guru Granth Sahib, they automatically are the Sikhs, and they don't want to know anything. You will meet people who cut their hair, wear the kara, claims to be the Sikh, and very proud of that, their identity. We really honestly cannot do anything. Um, what can they do to make the change in their life? The question should be how people should grow. How should people take a step forward toward oneness and getting out of these dualities, this a fog of a false existence, socially, tribally, family-wise, and who we are and we're not, and walk on the path of humanity. So it's a simply there. That process is an individual's process. We usually sing this Shabad of Guru Arjan Sahib in Gauri. Vadbhagi har kirtan gaiye, par Brahm tu deh tapaiye. That those are lucky you get chosen for the task, to become the kirtan, to become one, to walk on the marg, to walk on the path given by Guru Sahib. We, we all think that we fell in love. We all think we know about love. We all think we are happy and we are in a bliss. We all think that way. But that's not the ultimate truth. We think we love Rajma and Chal, but that's what our understanding is, that we love eating Indian food, Punjabi food. We consume and we labeled that as a love. And that's happening in Sikhi too, that we define things and we are stuck in those cages.
But
And
I
we
don't
are
think
so much pulled apart, Jasvir Kaurji, this is wrong and this is right. And in this wrong, right, what we see out there, we forget ourselves, the process we should be in relation to the Guru.
so. I'm not talking about right or wrong. Um, I'm saying that in order for us to move forward as a community, there's certain um, definitions or values that need to be understood historically in terms of their context and their value as well. And we have accountability, every single individual who uses that title Sikh, who says, I am a Sikh, whether you cut your hair, whatever you do, if you wear a Quran, you use that title that I am a Sikh. है Um, we're trying to have ourselves seen on the census and these things and have that separate tick box. So I get that communally to be noticed, but I think where it comes to our practice, it's important to have a clear definition, because if we can't understand what is the requirement to be a Sikh, then how do I know that me calling my Sikh is not hurting the actual values of Sikhi? And we see a lot of that around us. There's just a lot of young people. When I was growing up, everybody around me that was brown called themselves Sikh, but they didn't have the connection with the values. None of them had ever, probably, okay, maybe one or two of them had sat with a gutka to do part, but the others not. Like, their connection was with Sikhi was that they had Kaur or Singh in their name, and that on Sundays they would go to the Gurdwara, or if they didn't go on Sunday, they'd go on Diwali or they'd go on Gurpurb. That was their claim to be Sikh. And they wear a kara and they'll go, pubbing and clubbing and all of these other things. But not just those people, but other people who use the name God and Singh. But we see and we hear negative things about people who have these names in the media if they've, committed a bad deed or whatever. For me, that comes with the responsibility of wanting that title. Like you said, a doctor or a police officer or an army officer, if you want to have that rank, if you want to carry that title, it comes with a code of conduct, it comes with a set of responsibilities. And if anything you do in the public contradicts those responsibilities, it's like me having that title of MBE. There are restrictions, or not restrictions, but there are guidelines to follow which are expected of you to uphold the prestige of what that represents. Now, if I were to go against those guidelines, then I would lose that title. But we don't seem to have any form of accountability in our Sikh spaces that, you know, does that quality control.
It used to happen like this, and it's not that we don't have a code of conduct. That's why we have our court, Sri Akal Takht Sahib. We have Jathedar who can hold you on misconduct, and the guidelines. Yes, we don't follow those guidelines. It's a different thing, you know. I just want to share so that the people can understand this in a context. Last week, I was doing this course talking about Gurmat and the Sikhi in modern day terms, day to day. How can we live as a Sikhs? And um, 2 3 times I used the Sri Guru Granth Sahib Ji is setting up the program of clock of life, and therefore there are 60 rags. there was an MD in this congregation who got offended by this. He said, Surinder Singh ji, you are telling us a wrong thing. There's 31 rags according to my knowledge, and there are not 60 rags. And I said to him, I said, I can share the list with you, the page numbers, the rags and the banis under it, and where Guru clearly stated that, like for example, Rag Gaudi Purbi Deep Ki, Rag Gaudi Deep Ki, uh, Rag Gaudi Gwareri, Rag Gaudi Mala, or you know, Rag Mali Gauda, all of these things, I can share that. But he refused. He said, no. Uh, I'm a doctor by profession. I've learned this, whatever I picked up, those people, whatever the information I have, that is the only truth. I'm refusing to believe you. Now, what can we do to this? If when we know that we know, then there's nothing to know. Our Sikhi stopped. Because Guru Nanak ji defining about Sikhi saying, Sikhi, Sikhya, Guru Vichar. What is Guru's viewpoint on things? Learning about that, how Guru thinks. Learning about that, what Sikhi is. But when we refuse, when we shut the doors, of course, everything is going to be changed. Our culture, our lifestyle. So we have the system in a place. Before Ranjit Singh became Maharaja of Punjab, we had a system. Sarbat Khalsa was called. The very key matters related to the Sikh and the practices of Sikhi were addressed. And Raja coming into power demolished the Sarbat Khalsa model. But the Jathedar of Akal Takht was still in place, and he used his powers as an state within the state. He used those powers, and he called upon. There are so many stories which I'll probably share later on, telling you that how the Sikh court was even on the top of the emperor. He was answerable to the Jathedar who kept the rules and regulation in line. So the one who carries Singh and Kaur is loyal to Guru Sahib, and there are parameters. We have Bajjar Kareta or Kareta. We can be called in. If I make a statement and I call myself Sikh, I will be called to the highest court amongst the Sikhs at Akal Takht Sahib, and I'll be held responsible. And I have to apologize and correct my mistakes, and I have to accept the punishment, whatever the Jathedar will give it. So it's not that we don't have a law, but now everybody, the power, the time changed, and therefore we are politically very strong and spiritually sinking in the sinking sand, and that's where that's where the transformation to a cultural transformation is happening. Um, but it's not true that we don't have things in place.
There's so many things that I want to ask you, and I don't think that this conversation is over yet because I think the connection with Akal Takht is different through different generations of Sikh. Um, for my generation, it's not such a strong connection in the same way. I mean,
They
yes,
shouldn't be like this.
it shouldn't be like this. I understand. And that's why we need to have these conversations. But simply saying it shouldn't be like this doesn't change anything. Hannah. So the more that we can discuss this and help to bridge that understanding, that's what we need to do because I've never seen Akal Takht come forward for matters that are important to me as a young person who's born and brought up in England. I don't see how things are moderated or how that quality is measured. In an idealistic way, yes, it exists and it holds that stature and that place. But I'd love to discuss this more in our next episode. We have run out of time, but this conversation was incredible and I can't wait to continue this next week. So I thank you, Yogi Ji, for being on today's show. And I'm looking forward to carrying on the conversation next week. Sat